So into our very final match. So this is playing for first prize. I've lost the die roll again. I don't remember this match terribly well. It was quite late at night. We got paired against Mono White Initiative, which is historically a pretty good matchup for us, but it's been a little while since I'd had to play against it. And so just had a little bit of trouble remembering some of the cards in it as well. So, I mean, the first hand was just basically didn't. Okay, you cast an Arcanist, you couldn't protect it, you couldn't do anything with it. I think it was pretty poor. This is a much better hand. I think we are going to bottom the. This is a tough one because I think we're kind of incentivized to bottom the Lavinia. An opponent's got a Chancellor of the Annex. Now, I remember at the time that made me think that they were on all spells. And instead, no, they are on initiative. And unfortunately, we've bottomed one of our best cards for the initiative, which is the Iconoclast. So we're going to go ahead and force this, paying for the Chancellor trigger. And then I think we're going to want a Time Walk. It's not my favourite use of a Time Walk. I always hate these just explore Time Walks, but I think that's in the position that we're in. Okay, an opponent's got another Anointed Peacekeeper, which means that we're basically out of the game. I think the clock's now too fast. So, game one, pretty uneventful. Opponent just came out of the gate swinging really hard and got a clock on us, and we had no way of stopping them. So, on to game two. Now, I think I got a little bit experimental. It's probably the wrong place and time to be experimental, but I brought in Tabernacles. So normally I would leave in the Force of Negations. And I think the Force of Negations, I think retrospectively I would probably keep Force of Negation over Tabernacle. They pay for their creatures too well and they don't have enough of them for me to be concerned. And I think the Force of Negations just let me hit like some of their early mana. This hand is obviously, especially given we have decided we want to try for a Tabernacle plan, really good. We have a Swords to Plowshares, we have a Gataxian Probe to figure out what's going on. And we have a Merchant Scroll. So we can go ahead and Gataxian Probe and reveal there is a Cavern of Souls. So human. So I mean, we could force a Mox, and I'm not entirely opposed to that. But I think instead, there we go, I think this is better. And here we can bauble ourselves to take the next card, which is the card that we want, which is the Lavinia. We get two swords. Opponent makes an interesting play there. think I was meant to maybe fetch away the other bauble there. Here we go, we're just going to drop our Hate Bear. So this isn't the best card against our opponent, but what it is going to let us do is take the initiative next turn. Because we're going to be able to swords, attack in, and then we're going to get to start trading over initiative. So Seasoned Dungeoneer, that's fine. They get to make their next land drop. And I think, so we can go ahead and so I'm not sure. I think I might have misclicked when I went to Wasteland, and I think I was meant to misclick the Cavern of Souls. Either way, I'm not super high on it because I think we might have been better off just using our Merchant Scroll to go get an Ancestral. This was always going to arrive no matter what, so. And I had to try and navigate what all the different settings on the initiative do. I do remember that, and I remember it being annoying. Just because there's quite a few of them. So here we're just going to grab our Lurrus. Our Merchant Scroll is possibly now relegated to Force Pitch, depending on what opponent does. And we're happy to do that because it's going to take us a while for that to happen anyway, and we're kind of much better off just trying to get our Lurrus online. And start drawing some cards. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Just get our engine started. We will take an expressive iteration. And our opponent gets to take the initiative, and I think this now means this gets to buff, which is not good for me. And I think I did that so that I could take a 5/5 off the board in order to be able to continue to attack him with a 4/4. And I'm not sure if that was the best play. So here we're going to take our Brainstorm, exile a Scalding Tarn. And I think this is when we're going to turn the corner. So we're going to be able to go ahead and grab a Volk, play out our third Path Iconoclast off our Lotus and cruise. And Preordain. And now we are in a position where it's going to be really hard for my opponent to hold on to the initiative at any point. So we'll bottom another Lavinia. We'll take a third Path Iconoclast. And I think we're now looking really good. So opponent's still desperately trying to hold on to the initiative here, but I think it's well past gone. And yeah, they agree. Final match. Or final game, I should say. So obviously we're on the draw this time. I mean, this is a greedy keep, but I kind of almost like it. Like, we're fairly threat dense and we have a reasonable amount of card draw. Alright, so I've obviously decided against it. It does die to a single wasteland, so I will say the previous hand did die to a single wasteland, so I'll say that. This obviously will let us survive a wasteland. And looks like our idea of playing around a wasteland previously was a good thing. And so opponent's got a white plume adventurer. So depending on the way next turn shapes out, maybe I was meant to play into way. Oh, okay. Swords to Plowshares is perfect here. Now this is probably okay. So this is a Thalia. So I think we're still meant to just drop our Iconoclast. Because we don't have a force of will to protect it from a sword or anything similar for the meantime anyway. And as long as opponent is trying to deal with our third path Iconoclast, they're not going to be spending as much time advancing their game. So they are definitely going to take the initiative this coming turn. Or at least I assume they are. If they don't have a land... Okay, there we go. So this turn they're going to take the initiative. And in my turn, I guess I'm going to Swords the Thalia. And then I'm going to be able to chump the white. I wonder. I might be able to Swords the White Plume Adventurer, take the initiative. So this is interesting, right? Because it might be that leaving them with the initiative for too long... Oh, it doesn't matter. Okay, so... I obviously don't know the text of the initiative cards well enough because I didn't realise that this was an untapper. So that's fine. I think this, like, leads us down a very specific route. So... Swords on Thalia... to open up our mana. Obviously we're going to preordain next. And I think we're going to look for any piece of... So we might actually also want to land with how we're currently set up. So I think we can bottom the cruise, top the probe. Okay, so I think that was a little bit greedy. We have a few too many delve spells, but never mind. We're now in a position where, once again, like, it's just the opponent's going to really struggle to hold the initiative with what we're doing, which is kind of why I've liked having third path Iconoclast in a meta where white initiative is a deck. So they've now got their 4-drop. This is going to, I think, so this is going to trigger trap. So they're just trying to clock me, I think. Which makes sense because I think that's their best way of actually getting through the game. Ah, okay, and this one gives... Okay. So this could have gone really badly for us. So we lead on preordain, so we're just digging for now. We want to bottom both of these. So Time Walk's a really nice draw here. Because now we're going to get to Treasure Cruise after we take the initiative. And I think, so we've got to deal with the Seasoned Dungeoneer. So I mean, taking the cruise before was definitely greedy, and I think it was the wrong play, but it looks like it's panning out for us here. So we draw a bunch more cards. Get our bauble. So we're going to start our next turn with 6 cards in hand. And a lot of cards to draw. So we take our swords, that'll remove the Seasoned Dungeoneer. So opponent surprises by having a misstep. Which, yeah, like definitely throws me. But lucky the misstep was used on the Ancestral rather than anything else. And so we now get to dig and take a Force of Will. And yeah, like it's still, like there's still a very real chance of us losing here. Okay, so we've actually let that go. So we're holding the Force for like an emergency get out of jail button, but I think we should have just, you know, pushed our Ancestral through to try and find more Swords to Plowshares. Opponent's desperately going after our white sources. And we will Force of Will here, for sure. So we can, I think we stash to get access to white mana for a Swords to Plowshares. And we can Expressive Iteration. And I guess we put Preordain in hand, exile swords, bottom the land, swords the dude. And I think we're starting to run this game over. And when I say starting, I think we successfully have at this point. I don't actually know what cards opponent has that could get them out of this. And I don't know if Prismatic Ending might also have been a little bit greedy there. But never mind. And opponents packed it up. I think it was a little bit too early for our opponent to pack it up. I guess that means they just had like a handful of lands and nothing to deal with what is essentially a 2-turn clock. Given we have 12 on board and 10 the next turn. Or 12 on board and then, yeah, like, doesn't matter what they do. I don't think they can repeat. So I guess if they get to the Catacombs, but they've gone the wrong way for the Catacombs. Yeah, so I think they're just in a really tough position. So, like I said, it was probably a little bit early. But, yeah, I think we were pretty dominant at this point. But, yeah, so that's how we got there. That's how we got to the... That's how we ended up winning the challenge. So I hope everybody enjoyed watching the videos.